In this video, I want to show you how we run NMAP as a client on a Ubuntu machine to attack another machine which is running IIS. So in this video, we will demonstrate exactly how that is done. IIS is a web server, so NMAP is going to try and get all the information that is possible from that machine. This is the machine that I'm running here. It's running Wireshark here, so I will be doing a reverse scan as well. I'll explain that in a second, but let's just go to IIS and just look at the local host information. And here you'll see that it's running IIS, as I said, but let's just go and find out how we can find out more information about this machine. So let's go back to NMAP. And from there, we'll go and type in some commands and get some data of that particular machine and show you how a hacker would use this information. So I type in NMAP, and I want to get a list of all the commands available. So let's just look at the help and let's see all the commands that are listed here that we can use NMAP for. So I'll explain more on these options later, but for now we're just going to do a demo, and that way you will see exactly how data is obtained by NMAP and how a hacker would use this for personal gain. Now let's type in NMAP, and I need to type -A, and A is to enable OS detection. As I highlight here, it's OS detection and version detection. So that's will tell us what operating system, what version is running, and I'll explain. -O will give me more information about the operating system. So it's more operating system detection as listed here. I also want to put an additional command here, -VV, which will give me a increased verbosity, which will give me an increased data list of exactly what's going on, some more details about what's happening on that particular victim or attack machine. So now let's just go to the IP address. This is the IP address here, 52.32.38.110. Let me confirm that. Yes, that looks fine. So that's the IP address. Now, this is Wireshark. Wireshark also will allow me to see the packets that are coming from the hacking machine. So I want to do a reverse scan. So this is the IP address of my machine that I'm running the NMAP from. So we'll be able to see the packets that are coming through and the packets that are sent from on this IIS machine, and we'll be able to log that. So I'm logging right now with a filter, so it'll only show me packets that have this IP address in the source or destination field. So let's go on to the scan and let's see if packets start appearing. So let me just press the enter key, and once that's done, the scan will start. Here we go. Okay, the scan has started and it's discovering some open ports. It's giving me some pings, some information about what ports have been discovered. There are some TCP ports, and let's just keep going. And if you look at the Windows machine, the IIS machine, you'll notice that there are packets located in the Wireshark. So the packet trace has started and showing me source IP addresses with that IP address, and also destination IP addresses where information is being sent back to the machine running NMAP. Now let the scan continue a bit more. Notice how we've got ports here that are open. There's a 80 port, which is the web port, HTTP port. There's a web server running, so we can tell that by looking at that port. Let's just see what else comes up in the scan. I'm doing this live, so I'm seeing exactly what's going on. It's 54.5% done, and it tells you a remaining time of how long it will take to possibly complete. So we'll just wait while that runs. And as that is running, let's talk about some of the other ports. So if you look at some of the ports in that list, we've got 139, 445. If you didn't use the -VV command, you wouldn't get all this detailed information. So using the VV command will give you much more detail than previously recorded. So let's just go through and make sure this finishes shortly. It shouldn't be too long, but let's just see. This is what a hacker would use. They would look at this information, and I'll explain what types of things they would look for to steal data, to find vulnerabilities. So with the ports, port 80 we talked about being a web server, port 139 and 3389 are for remote desktop, port 443 is for HTTPS, and what else is there? Let's just keep going, wait for this to finish shortly. It takes a little while depending on your connection speed and things like that. So it's completed, almost done. So let's just scroll down a little bit. Here we go. It's giving me obviously more details here. Because I've used that VV tag, it's providing a lot more detail. So here I see some interesting things which I'll explain. Now you see this Windows running on this. It shows me the HTTPS port, NetBIOS ports. It also tells me that it has an IIS machine, and if you look up here, 8.5, that being the version. A hacker would look at this information and say, what are the vulnerabilities on an 8.5 IIS machine? And this information is available on the internet. So because of the version number, the hacker could use it to figure out where the vulnerabilities are and attack the machine based on those vulnerabilities. That's why this information is so powerful, and this type of software is freely available. So let's just keep going, and you'll see that we also have the OS system, which is listed as the OS side of things. Let's have a look, because we asked for the OS scan. Notice how it tells me it's a Windows machine. It's giving me a Microsoft machine. What else is it giving me? Let's have a look here. It's telling me IIS server for Windows Server 2012 with this particular standard release. So think about these vulnerabilities are available on the internet for this particular version. A hacker would then use this to go and scan for flaws or vulnerabilities with that particular release. And it's giving me a trace route, so showing me exactly what the trace route looks like. So as you can see, this information, just by running the NMAP software, has given me so much detail that a hacker would use to then find out whether the machine is worth attacking, where the holes are, what is the weakness in that particular system. So as an ethical hacker, you know that by using the software, you can actually find out if there are holes in your network or a client network and figure out exactly how to fix those vulnerabilities. In this video, I want to show you how we use NMAP within the Kali Linux environment. One thing you need to understand is when you're hacking or trying to attack a victim's computer, you need to be very, very careful not to reveal your IP address. By revealing your IP address, not only do you run the risk with the victim's machine, being them identifying you, but your ISP could detect that you are running these scans, and that could open up legal headaches for you and possibly being blocked from using the internet completely from your end with that IP address. So to combat that whole situation, we want to use NMAP in stealth mode. To use it in stealth mode, we need to consider the use of VPN, a virtual private network, or using proxy chains. We will be talking about proxy chains in this series of videos, and we will be using Tor, and I'll explain how Tor actually works shortly. But more importantly, just realize that this video is more to educate you that running NMAP will open up a lot of headaches for you if you are not protecting your IP address. So it is absolutely paramount that you put into place practices to prevent your IP address from being detected by not only the victim or hacking site, but also your own ISP. So I want to quickly run a traceroute command to show the way the packets from my computer go to this IP address, which is 8888, that being a Google IP address. Basically what we're showing here is the way the information would go from my computer all the way through all these different hops to get to the final destination. When you're using NMAP and you want to protect your information online, you don't want this to be visible to public. You want to make sure your information is protected, and that's where the use of VPNs and proxy chains are so important, because these hops would all be different if you use a VPN or by using a proxy chain. So in this video, I want to discuss IP addresses with you and show you how to protect your IP address online. So the first thing we want to do is go to the normal browser in Kali Linux. So let me just minimize that. Go to Iceweasel, which is the browser within Kali Linux. And I want to go to whatismyip.com. And once here, it's going to show me my IP address of this machine. This is an IP address of this particular machine. You don't want to be scanning anyone with this particular address. You want to be very cautious to protect yourself online. So make sure this is not visible. We will need some additional applications, one being called Tor, and I'm going to get that now, and I'm going to type in apt-get install, and I need the installer for Tor. So installer, I'm sorry, it's supposed to say install. Let me just go to install and then type in Tor. So once that's done, if it's already installed, it will tell me that it's already there. Right now, it says it's already the newest version, but if you haven't got it pre-installed, you will need to install this before anything else. So once you've got that in place, Tor is installed. Now we type in service Tor start, which will start the Tor service. Once that's started, we type in netstat to see if this service is running. Netstat-nutp, and that will tell me all the active internet connections available on this PC. The first line tells me that Tor is already running, so that's good that it is running. So now we want to just check the proxy chains. So let me go to this proxy chains file, and where we can install different proxies within that particular file. So I'll explain all that now, but let's just go to proxychains.conf. Once I go to that file, you will see that I can use nano as well to edit this file. And notice how there's dynamic chain. A dynamic chain allows me to basically, if I have a list of proxies, it will basically take one at random. So every request that I send will be from through a different proxy. and that's the way it works. So that's how you can set it up, so that way you are protected that every request is potentially coming from a different proxy. Now we've got strict chain. Obviously there's lots of different things here you can do. This will be a strict chain, so it'll be depending on the exact proxies, it will work one by one and request in that specific order. So here under DNS, I would suggest that you put in the proxy DNS entry if it's available. So if you do have it, make sure you use it. Now if I scroll down a little bit more, you will see at the bottom of this page is this line which says SOCKS 4 with 127.0.0.1 9050. That's the default setting for Tor. So if you have any other proxies that we'll show you in a second, you will just paste it at the bottom of this line, and that will help you with proxy chain setup in this particular file. Now let's just go to let's see what I can show you now. So yeah, as you can see, this is running and that's definitely working. So we're good to go for that particular Tor setup. We've already seen the setup of the Iceweasel browser, but let's just go back to the browser using proxy chains. So I type in proxy chains, Iceweasel, and that will open up the browser with proxy chains, and hopefully proxy chains will then give us a new IP address. So let's just do that. Notice the browser's opened up. Let's go in and type in whatismyip.com, and this should give me a different IP address. Oh, it's giving me the same IP address, and the reason for that is I most likely have had the browser still running before I set up proxy chains. So let me just close everything down. Let me close the browser, and if I close the browser, I will restart that. So let's just close the browser completely, and now when I type in proxy chains Iceweasel, that should fix that up. So let me close all the options. Let's type in proxy chains Iceweasel, and let's just see if this is fixed now. So let's wait for the browser to open, and notice now if I type in what is my IP, and let's see what my IP address is. Notice now my IP address is 45.56.90.85. So obviously the other one had 100 and something. This is 45. It has changed my IP address. So proxy setup has worked. Now I also want to show you a few other things, which is where to get proxy server addresses from. So notice how the Tor is actually using these different IP addresses to send my requests through. The worst thing that can happen is you are detected by the hacking victim or security department or your ISP, so you don't want to run the risk, and that is why we use something like Tor. Now, proxy chains enable us to hide our IP addresses quite nicely. Just be cautious though, packets sent from your computer will have your IP address included in it, so you want to protect yourself. You can add more proxies by going back to the proxy chains conf file, and as you scroll to the bottom, you can add more proxy here. Now, the way you get more proxy addresses is you can go back to a browser and type in hidemyass.com. So I'll just type that in here. And when I go to this page, there are some good proxies available here. A list of proxy servers are available, and they keep them fairly up to date. So if I scroll down, you will see a list of IP addresses for the proxy addresses. So I can select all countries, select your specific country, I can select ports, I can choose the protocols, anonymous levels, I just want SOX 4 and SOX 5 because it's only for command line interface. So I don't need the HTTP. So SOX 4 and SOX 5, I need the anonymity to be at least from low onwards. Everything else seems okay. So let me go and do a search, update results. Once I update the results, you'll notice that all the list of IP addresses are here. So IP addresses and ports and the location. And how you do that is where it says SOX 4 and IP address and the port number, you would look at the list. I'll just show you an example. So I would take the IP address here, use this port, and I'll use SOX 4 as the connection. So that would make the list populated. You can add more IP addresses and just keep going and keep adding more IP addresses in there. So now we've seen how proxy chains are used with Iceweasel, and basically command wise all you need to do is type in proxy chains and the program that you want to run, and that's as simple as that. So proxy chains Iceweasel would open up Iceweasel with proxy chains, and if you're using NMAP, we type in proxy chains NMAP, and that would enable proxy chains in NMAP as well. In this short video, I want to introduce you to how to use NMAP with some basic port scanning. So what we want to do here is type in proxy chains prior to using any NMAP commands, so we make sure our IP address is hidden. And you'll see why in a second. So we type in proxy chains NMAP, and let's look up some help commands in NMAP so we can identify which particular scan we're going to use in this exercise. So in this short video, I want to do a TCP port scan. So to look up a TCP port scan, let's look at the help commands first. So let's type in help here. And once we get the help list, I'll just scroll through and show you the options available. There's quite a few options available. In this one, we are doing a TCP scan on a machine. To do that, we need to type in NMAP, but prior to that, we type in proxy chains NMAP, and instead of the hyphen, we type in S, which is scan, and a capital T for TCP mode. So this will scan the machine that we want to scan for a TCP port. This is basically a three-way handshake that the scan is done and definitely find a TCP port if it's available. There is a drawback though, because the handshake process with a TCP scan will definitely be detected by the machine that you're scanning. So whether they've got a firewall system or intrusion detection system, it will definitely find your IP address. And that is why we need to be very careful that we use the proxy chains command so IP address is clearly not shown. So in this video, we want to start doing the NMAP scan for TCP ports, so a TCP port scanning. Again, you don't want to be attacking any international server. You don't want anyone knocking on your door, because this could get you in a lot of trouble. So the best way would be to practice on a server that you have purchased or a VPS server that you can get access to an account. Test it out, play around with that so you can actually scan your own internal network. You don't want to be attacking any international sites. So this is a website we've got handy. We'll be using this address to do the TCP scan against. So the way we do that is we go back to our command line and we type in NMAP. And now notice that I have excluded the proxy chains. If I just do it this way, my IP address will be visible to the victim machine and open up all sorts of trouble for me. So -s -st www.website.com or whatever the address is, I need to put proxy chains in here or I will be exposed, and I don't want that. So proxy chains NMAP -st, and then we do the scan. Once that is done and you're happy with it, you hit the enter key and the scan will start. Once the scan starts, it's going to take a while. The NMAP is going to search for different ports. It started, and in this particular case, it's looking at the 443 port and seeing if there's any ports open. So it's searching, and it will tell you if it's found a port open, as it says timeout, so it's not open. 554, let's see if this port is found. What is available? So the idea would be just to wait and see. Let NMAP do its thing and see what exactly it finds. So 554 timeout. Now 256, let's see if that port shows any opening or any ports that are open. It does take a while, again, depending on your connection, but you just have to be patient with this. Now it's searching for an opening on port 80. Let's see. Well, it's a website, so we know port 80 is for websites. So port 80 is open for HTTP requests. Let's see if there are any other ports open. So again, just let this run. It will take a while. You may want to go have a drink or grab a favorite beverage and come back, because the scan does take a while. You may even have to leave it overnight, just depending on what you're scanning. So just see there's a few timeouts, and this would just take a while. As we can see, the HTTP port is open, so we know that this is a web site or a site serving up web pages. And let's just keep going. What else is open? Obviously, there are lots of timeouts, and it's hit and miss sometimes. You won't know exactly what's available, what's open. NMAP will then do the scans for you and reveal all that information. And a nice little display here to show you exactly what's open. And please make sure you use proxy chains, because if you don't, your IP address will be visible clearly and you will get someone knocking on your door if you are not careful. Now, this is more exercise in teaching you how to use NMAP. If you want to get into a security career, this is the type of thing you will be doing to scan your own network that maybe the company you're working for will want you to test out the security of their website. And in new websites, any machines that they have running on the network, you use NMAP to scan for any vulnerabilities that may or may not be present. So you would use a tool like NMAP. I'm going to fast forward this a little, as the NMAP is taking quite a while. So with proxy chains, using a different IP address and hiding your own IP address, it does include an extra time frame for the scan. All these scans will definitely be detected by a firewall or intrusion detection system, so you need to make sure you don't have your real IP address visible. So with that, we're just going to fast forward the scan to make sure that you're not waiting, but you may have to end up waiting when you're doing the scan live. So the scan has now been completed, and I'm just going to walk you through exactly what NMAP has discovered. You will see on this page that NMAP has found that there are 992 closed ports. So it's taken quite a while to then identify which ports are open and which ports are closed. But as you can see, right at the top of this page, it's showing very clearly 992 closed ports have been found. This victim's PC has shown 22 port is open. We can definitely connect to that port in that sense. 25 is a SMTP port, which is filtered. Filtered I will cover later on. We've got a port 53, port 80, some shown as open and some showed as filtered. But given that we are finding ports that are open, this would make a very big difference in terms of what options are available. So let's type in telnet to that particular site using this particular port, which is port 22. So let's try that and see if we can telnet. and notice that SSH open, so we are able to telnet to that particular port. Again, NMAP has displayed this information to us. Now we can go in and see whether the port is really open or not. It's just given us a clue whether they open or filtered, and then we can actually telnet into some of those ports to see whether they actually work. There's a POP3, which is a email server possibly open there. There's also a IMAP email server that's open. With this NMAP scan, we have now determined that there are a number of ports open on this particular machine. Now that NMAP has run completely, we can go in and see which ports are actually open. You'll see port 53, which is open. That is for a DNS server. We also have port 25, which is the SMTP port, and most likely an email server is running on this machine. POP3 again, which is also for email server. Let me clear this page, and as you can see, a number of ports have been displayed. You'd also have seen that there was some filtered ports. We will need to do a further scan, which is called a SYN scan, which I'll discuss in the next lecture, of how we do a SYN scan to find more information. So let's discuss fin scanning. Fin scanning works by sending a packet from our machine to a victim machine, and the victim machine has either an open port or closed port. If there's a closed port, it should send a reset packet to our machine. So a closed port will respond with a reset packet. An open port, however, will just drop the packet and absolutely do nothing. So that way, there will never be a TCP type connection or any IDS detection, intrusion detection, etc. will not be picked up, will not be logged, etc. So let's do a NMAP with a fin scan. So -S, and I use the F tag, a capital F. So this way we can scan our machine, victim machine right now. Notice I'm not using any proxy chains because this is a machine that's within a closed network. If you're ever running a scan outside on a overseas computer or any other machine, you want to make sure you use proxy chains. And please understand this activity is illegal in most countries, so you want to be protecting yourself at all situations. So let's do the scan on this particular machine. And the fin scan is actually a stealthy option. So if you want to keep under the radar, a fin scan is probably the way to do it, although it's not 100% reliable. So let's do a scan on this machine and let's see what it finds. So it started, and let's just wait and see the results. As I said, it's not 100% accurate. A lot of the time, it depends on the machine that we're scanning. As you'll see here, all 1000 ports are scanned and it's showing as closed. Now this is not accurate, and that also depends on the machine you're running this on or the machine that you are scanning. So there's lots of variations here. So let's try another scan, this time the Christmas scan. Now the Christmas scan works on the basis that it has all 3 flags up, lit up like a Christmas tree. So that's the whole reason why it's called the Xmas scan. So let's change this to an X, and this means that the fin, urgent, and the push flags are all up. So if they're all set up and lit up like a Christmas tree, that's why it's called Christmas scan. So let's try this scan now and see what it results and gives us the results. It started again. Let's just see what it finds. Again, it's saying that all ports are closed. Now I'm leaving this video in because a lot of the time you will find these types of results. So I want to show you some results. So what I'd like to do is scan another machine, and given that I don't have another PC here right now, I'm going to scan my Kali Linux machine. So let's do the scan on our Kali Linux. So let's open another terminal window and let's do a NMAP scan with the fin scan, and we will do SF, and I will put it as 127.0.0.1. Now let's see what happens. Notice now it has got some results. It shows that this port is open and Tor is running on this particular port. So that's good. Now let's go and do a Christmas scan with an X, and let's see what that shows. Again, it's showing that same port with Tor running on this particular machine. So as you can see, the Christmas scan and the fin scan do work. It is a lot of trial and error, and I've left this in so you can see what type of results you may get. Don't get frustrated. Eventually you'll find a machine that this type of scan will work on. And the beauty about this is it stays under the radar. It keeps you hidden in a sense because no intrusion detection scanning system will pick this up. In this video, I want to show you how we use NMAP to detect the operating system. To do that, we need to go NMAP minus capital A, which is the option to find the operating system. And then I type in the address of the machine that I want to scan. Again, this is I'm not using proxy chains because this being a closed network. Let's start this, and you'll see that once it starts, it will do a ping scan, and then it'll do a SYN stealth scan, followed by a service scan, and then finally the operating system scan. So while this is running, you'll see that it's finding more things. It's detecting what's available, what ports are open, everything that I need, and it'll give me quite a bit of results that we'll navigate through after the scan is complete. As you can see, this is filling up the page. The SYN scan is almost finished, and then we'll go into a service scan. Once the service scan starts, it won't be long before we will start the operating system detection scan. So as you can see, it's 99.99% complete, almost done. Now the service scan has started, and let's see how this finishes up. There we go, 90.91%. It's looking for the services available on this particular port and finding up what we can about the particular machine. Now we'll continue. Shortly it'll finish, and then we'll go into the operating system detection scan. Now let's just wait. You will find that you'll be waiting for short periods of time, sometimes quite long periods. As you can see, it's finished. So it has found all the information that we need. Now we'll navigate through the information to see exactly what we want to find. So let's scroll through this particular information that NMAP has found during the operating system detection scan. As you'll note here, let me just highlight this for a second, and you'll see there's a port that's open which is running FTP. As I scroll further down, you'll see there's a SSH port as well running 4.3 version, and it's also showing a VSFTP, which is the 2.0.5 version. So as you can see, this information has been found. It tells me some more information about another HTTP port, which is running Apache 2.2.3 and the CentOS operating system. So if there are any vulnerabilities for this particular operating system, we can research that and look at what operating system vulnerabilities there were. So as I scroll down, you see MySQL is there. If I go further down, we'll see that Linux kernel 2.6 and 2.6.18 to 2.6.32. So any vulnerabilities for this particular Linux kernel can be found, and then we can use that to exploit this machine. As we go further, there's another IP address being detected, 10.10.10.30. As I scroll down, it tells me it's a HTTP port with running IIS. It then also tells me there are some open ports here, IIS 10 as well, so we can see if there are any vulnerabilities for IIS 10. There are some open ports here. Let's look for the operating system, because this will tell us exactly what operating system is. So let me scroll down and let's look through the rest of the information if I can find the operating system. It tells me Microsoft Windows, tells me Windows here, and it tells me Windows 98. Now obviously this machine is not a Windows 98 machine, it's running Windows 10. So let me just see if I can find where it tells me Windows 10. In fact, if you just look at the bottom here, it tells me Windows 10. So let's go down to the bottom, and as you can see, Windows 10 Pro version 6.3. We can then use this information to find vulnerabilities for this particular version of the operating system. So as you can see, this is what NMAP has been able to detect for us. And we've seen with this NMAP scan that there are two operating systems running, one being the CentOS operating system and also Windows 10. And all this has been obtained by using NMAP with the capital A command.